I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Tonight's presentation of the U.S. Open Wheel Doubleheader on the National Racing Network is presented by the Bizzle Foundation for Bratwurst Excellence, the Scott Nicky Parking Academy, the iRacing Forums Potatoes Club of New Mexico, and viewers like you. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network, where tonight it will be the Stars and Cars of the U.S. Open Wheel Championship taking on the Streets of Belle Isle in Detroit, Michigan. My name is Chris Graham, joined in the booth as always by Mr. James Watson and Mr. Patrick Byrne. Pretty darn good show here. I think we have all the cards for you guys tonight. We hope you are going to enjoy it as much as we do. And let's talk a little bit about this place, guys. And James, will come to you first. Belle Isle is not an easy place to get around, and that might be the understatement of the year.
The superior Detroit layout. No, I'm not over it.
I could probably agree with that, actually.
Yeah.
I ran a race here on Tuesday, and I forgot how fantastic this track is. It's one of my favorite street circuits in probably the entire service and possibly the world.
I would not say it as good as Toronto. Apparently as good as Chicago. That put on a great race for the NASCAR guys in the real world. I've
been saying it since the track dropped on iRacing. It is a fantastic street circuit, and nobody believed me until SVG went and put a whipping on the field.
Yeah, it's because people just look up the layout and go, oh, that's bland, until you actually drive it and go, huh, there's actually a lot of unique... There's a lot of unique characteristics about the track, though. It has bridges. Better bridges than Nashville.
It's still... No, I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
No, those bridges are awesome in Chicago. I'm sorry. It has elevation change. Beat that.
The Charlotte...
Anyways, we should probably...
Anyway, yeah, let's talk about this
We
place.
should probably... Yeah, talk about this street circuit, probably.
Yes, Scott Dixon holds the track record here, set in 2012 with the Indy cars. I don't know. I don't know who the comment is coming from on YouTube, but it is beautiful. Wind might be a big consideration here tonight. It's out of the east at 18 kilometers per hour. Tailwind down the backstretch. That coming from Vilmacher. Kevin says, I tuned in just in time to hear bridge debate. You're not getting that anywhere else.
Clearly, you don't watch Real Civil Engineer.
I believe Villamacher is the great Adam Crane, so thank you for tuning in.
Oh, there you go.
But back to Scott Dixon's fast lap here. You're telling me the DW12, that ginormous pig, was faster around here than the champ cars of the early 2000s?
That is apparently exactly what I am saying.
Well, wait, what was the year he set that lap in?
2012.
Yeah, 2012.
Yeah, the first few years of the DW12 before the Aero Kit didn't have as much downforce, so it's not too unfathomable for that to be the case.
I was still surprised by it. I will say that. But taking a look here is we are getting qualifying just underway. David Porcelli is working his first lap, as is Carter Lundy, Everett Paddock, Nicholas Daly, Benjamin Barato, sorry, but Nagisa Yoshikawa, Alexander Wesley Hazelworth, Liam Loisel, just about everybody out on the racetrack right now. And just working on getting the graphics set up for you so we are getting them pulled up appropriately anyway.
I love that Forsyth Racing scheme on these little cars. It looks good on anything you throw it on. It's like those old the Penske schemes with the specific sponsor. They just look so fantastic.
Yes, there is definitely something to say for that. Let's see here as we are getting, there we go. Now we got all the graphics up for you. Carter Lundy just finishing up his qualification run. Also, Everett Paddock, Nicholas Daly finishing theirs as well. Let's pick up, let's see, who do we still have out here? Let's see, Nagisa Yoshikawa is out on the racetrack right now. Also, David Porcelli, lap number 1 for Porcelli, did not score. So let's flip over to Porcelli here and see what David's going to be able to do.
Yeah, David Porcelli always fast on the street circuits. It's kind of like he's mastered these places where, as Wes Shire would put it, very specific and unquestionable track limits.
Yes.
Huge swap from what we had last week up in Austria, where track limits were kind of just run wide until you get the 1X. Here, you run just an inch wide, and you're in that wall, and your race is done.
Yeah, in the time it spent you to say that, you got 10 X's at Austria. You go.
Yeah, what's worse, Spa or Austria?
In iRacing, yeah, Spa. Like, I haven't had much issues in Austria, but Spa is a nightmare.
I don't even know that I want to get into that discussion, quite frankly.
Right.
Because West Shire will absolutely implode in the comments. As lap number 2 for David Porcelli, only going to be good for 9th quick, 1 minute 24.975. Down to 1 minute and 48 seconds remaining. Looks like Dakota Alvarado is going to be one of the very few cars left remaining on the racetrack here. We'll pick him up. Oh, buddy. That's letting the back end hang out a little bit. It looks like his qualification run will be coming to an end. Final car on the racetrack will be the 13 of Jamie Willets. Working lap number 1 and only 56, working lap number, well, yeah, his first timed lap. But with only 50 seconds remaining in qualifying, looks like Jamie's only going to get one shot at this in the Arrow McLaren colors. Have to say, here we go. Zach Evans checking in to answer your question on track limits, by the way, here, boys. The actual answer is COTA. I don't disagree with that. Got to thank everybody who's tuned in on YouTube and on Facebook tonight. We're going to bring back the Facebook feeds a little bit here since Jeff Bezos sucks. We're not on Twitch anymore as the clock runs out. Time has expired on the qualification session. So, yes, Mr. Bizzle.
If we're going to bring Coda into this, then I'm going to say the actual answer is Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen is the worst track limits on iRacing. You can't run wide in Watkins Glen without getting a slowdown, either out of turn 1 or out of the carousel. And that is the actual racing line.
Yes. That is
I
correct.
haven't triggered the slowdown on the exit of the carousel. What are you doing?
Running wide.
Apparently
it's
too wide.
fantastic.
Apparently you're running into the boot,
When Johnny
apparently.
Avila,
Well,
yeah, you are. And Johnny Avila is to your inside. You got to run it wide and get the run on him.
God, that's awesome. All right, well, while these idiots are I'm gonna mute them in a second here. Let them discuss off air. Let's give you the starting lineup for tonight's race because we do have the short pace lap. Nicholas Daly will be your pole sitter with a quick lap time of 1 minute 23.923, lining up alongside of Carter Lundy on the outside of road number 1. Row 2 will have the law firm Alexander Wesley Hazelworth alongside of Everett Paddock. Already up to a half second by the time you get to 5th place, Mobin Khan. He will be lining up alongside of the number 5 of Benjamin Bartow. Nagisa Yoshikawa alongside of Jason Miller on row number 4. Row 5 will have David Porcelli and Liam Loisel. Porcelli over a second back after the qualifying run. Simon Fell and Wes Shire will occupy row number 6 here tonight. Row 7 will have Joseph Heath in the Yellow Submarine alongside of Brian Karszewski. Russell Boyle and Vicky Tugnini on row number 8. There's a couple of new names for us, and one that I am absolutely going to screw up at some point tonight. Row number 9, Vic Aldrich and Ben Carswell. Row 10, AJ Camargo and Joao Rafael Silva Lopez. Row number 11, Mike Holler and Jamie Willets. And on the final row, all alone, will be Dakota Alvarado. 23 cars lined up on the grid here tonight. As we get ready to roll green flag very quickly in the air, we're underway here at Detroit. Little bit of contact deeper in the field.
Oh, there's a big
dead.
dead.
Nagisa Yoshikawa going to be involved in that one. He's going to get that car moving again, but very, very slowly. Up ahead, Brian Karszewski battling with Benjamin Bartow and Simon Fell. That's just behind David Porcelli going on for 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. My goodness, stuff going on all over the place here.
Yeah, it's very easy to get into contact early. As soon as you basically grab that green flag, you're immediately into a right-left complex. And we saw it with the pace car a couple years ago. It's very easy to hit the wall there.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
the big undulation you get on the exit, it just wreaks havoc on a lot of cars. It's so easy to spin, and if you just get on it too much, well, bad things happen.
These cars, thankfully, only making a quarter of the horsepower that the Corvette pace car was, so hopefully we don't see too many more spins like that tonight.
Yeah, that's best case scenario there. I think is hoping not, but
Carter Lundy makes the fade out to the outside. Is he going to try and cross him? Can't get anything done.
no, I'll tell you what, that's really the hard part about this. There are so many things that go on here in Detroit. Real quick, to finish up that point about the pace car wreck, FRS Drake saying Corvette did Mustang things.
Pain.
He's not wrong.
He's not, that's why it hurts.
Carter Lundy going for the lead. Around the outside, Kenny crosses him.
No, it's just not
Ah.
that.
Whoa!
Wow, really forced Hazelworth onto the binders. I'll tell you what,
Hazelworth.
Lundy's going to be hounding Daly here.
Yeah, look who's starting to join the party again.
The law firm has been outrageously fast here this week. He beat Brian Labarge's time on Tuesday by, I think, half a second, if not more. Like, he was fastest guy of the session by a large margin.
New fastest lap of the race belongs to Alexander Wesley Hazelworth, 1 minute 25.464.
Carter Lundy is all over the back bumper of that number 4 car.
So antsy to get by. Oh, I think we had trouble for Porcelli.
Let's take a
I
look
believe he's in the
here.
pit.
Yeah, David Porcelli was on pit lane, made a pit stop on lap number 2, may have been involved in that early race contact. And I'll tell you what, a place like this, it's hard enough to make up positions, let alone having to do it from a significant portion of a lap down. All of a sudden, this very quickly becomes a drop week for David Porcelli.
Yeah. Dare I say major championship implications?
Well, you can't go full Rick Allen on that because you get the drop weeks. So there's only
not only the drop weeks, he still has to get back out there and keep running. This is a street circuit. With how close these top 3 are running, there is a good possibility all 3 of them get taken out in an incident. Lap traffic could get taken out. That could be free positions that you move back up through the field. And best case scenario is use this as your drop week, but you can go out there and have a mediocre night and then have a terrible race next week and use that as your drop week. You don't want to have a terrible week count.
That's exactly it. You only get a handful. You only get 4 of them over the 12-race season. So it's fairly early on to go, I've used one. I mean, we've seen championships won based on the fact that the drop weeks were all really, really good.
Yeah, optimally, if I was running for a championship, I'd want to drop a 5th place finish. And go, well, that was my worst finish of the season. Yeah, let's get rid of that one, rather than having to drop a race that you finished dead last in.
Amen to that.
Yeah, it's even just a psyche thing. I mean, for a guy like David Porcelli, I guess it kind of goes into the stuff happens sometimes department. But, let's see, possibly another issue here for David Porcelli. Let's take a look at the NRN instant replay.
This is a corner that I struggled with a bunch in the race on Tuesday. Yeah. Well, now tonight's going to be a drop week for him.
Yeah.
As those top 3 are still all over each other, Carter Lundy can't decide if he wants to try and make a lunge for the lead or block Hazelworth from behind.
Everett Paddock not making up a ton of ground, though. Still sitting 1.7 seconds back of the leader and about 1.1 back of Hazelworth for 3rd. Only other real battle we have on the racetrack. Let's pop back here and pick up the fight for 10th. That's going to be Mobin Khan and Ben Carswell. They're going to have Joseph Heath just back behind. Oh, another one. Big move here. Hold up. Trouble for Nicholas Daly. Race leader Nicholas Daly has an issue.
And this issue is brought to you by Auto Trader.
Yeah. Well, the issue has him on pit lane. Take a look at the instant replay here and see what happened to Daly.
Contact with Lundy, maybe? Or, yeah, he had a little bit of help there.
A little bit.
Ooh.
Can we get an onboard with Lundy for that one?
Yeah, let me, let's watch this one back here. Let me swap up the camera here. Let's go from, let's see, let's go from the NRN drone here and see what happened on this one.
Oh, yeah, you
yeah.
can't even blame
Yeah.
that on the netcode.
Now, that was just enough to cause a big-time problem, as we'll pick up Carter Lundy here.
And now that Lundy doesn't have Nicholas Daly in front of him, he's starting to pull a gap on Alexander Wesley Hazelworth.
Well, you wonder if Hazelworth didn't have to get on the binders a little bit to avoid the issue, because he's fallen right back into the clutches of Everett Paddock.
Yeah,
Paddock lost
honestly.
about 2 or 3 tenths.
Yeah, honestly, if I had to guess, knowing Everett, he was probably just kind of hanging back, seeing how close the top 3 were, knowing that something was probably going to happen. And now that something happened, now we're going to see him pushed a lot more. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him past the law firm and a lot closer to Carter here within the next 5 laps or so.
That's been something when we've talked to Everett over the last handful of times that I've gotten to talk to him. He's really been talking about the fact that he's just off the pace of these guys ahead of them. He feels like he's lost 3 or 4 tenths. And honestly, he doesn't even necessarily know where to go hunting for it.
Yeah, but this is still a Everett Paddock we're talking about. Like, he's been one of the best guys in the series basically as long as we've been covering it. So I'd say at worst it's just a little slump. He'll be right back at the front like we're used to.
Yeah,
Yes.
Everett Paddock had a fantastic race last week, and frankly, he snuck into a couple wins so far this season. Just sitting back, not necessarily on the ball with pace, but the leader's been getting themselves into some trouble and letting him right by.
By the way, Destiny Gray checking in the comments on YouTube saying hi. Hello, Destiny. Hope you are having a wonderful evening.
Hello.
What's up?
So these guys are not catching up whatsoever in the only other battle. Let's see, this one's starting to close in a little bit between Brian Karszewski and Joseph Heath, sitting right about the 4/10 of a second mark, but really that's the only other fight on the racetrack right now. Mobin Khan about 0.6 of a second back of Ben Carswell, and then the battle for second, there you see that one. Heath having
Is he driving a yellow submarine out there?
Yes,
He is.
Oh man, another fantastic paint scheme on these open wheelers, and he does get it done in that yellow submarine.
With the Daniel Ricciardo GM Goodwrench helmet from the F1 race at COTA a couple of years ago.
Nice.
Well done.
Nice.
That was Rick Mears drove the yellow submarine, right? It's Rick Mears, and then
Well, Johnny Rutherford was the first. The old Chaparral cars back in the early 1980s, and then it went over to Rick Mears. And then after Mears, it kind of got parked for a while, if my memory serves me correctly.
until Helio started driving,
well,
right?
no, Sam Hornish took it with Panther Racing. They brought that back. And then it moved over to Elio, and it's been with Team Penske ever since.
Didn't Scotty Mack race it last year or the year
Last
year
2 years.
before?
This year and
Yeah.
last year, I believe, at the Brickyard. But yeah.
Didn't he also run the yellow submarine at St. Pete as well?
May have. They run that 2 or 3 times a year, I believe. I could be mistaken on that part, but
One of my all-time favorite paint schemes.
Yep.
It's another one that's super simple, like those Penske red and white schemes or the Forsyth scheme that's sitting in first place behind the wheel of Carter Lundy.
that is correct. Not a ton, just a whole lot of pretty on those cars. So as we are at the halfway point here, lap number 9 of 17. It will be 9 down, or excuse me, yeah, 9 complete here. So
Having a little bit of trouble with the graphic software, but
well, no, yeah, the viewers. Oh, yes, that's true. Zach Evans, he's calling me out. Hey, put some respect on the Gilles de Ferran Pennzoil days. Yes, that is
Gilles
exactly
de Ferran
right.
did run that team.
Also, I want to say Thomas Schechter also ran it, because I feel like I have a diecast of his with that too.
Yes, for Panther Racing. Yep.
Yeah.
Did they run matching schemes at Panther in the early 2000s?
I don't think so.
No, because 03, Schechter was with Chip Ganassi. So that was 01 or 02 then.
I'll look up that.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're starting to fry my brain a little bit here on this one, but fantastic look there of Alexander Wesley Hazelworth battling with Everett Paddock. And quite frankly, if I'm Hazelworth or Paddock, I don't necessarily see any reason to battle hard here, because in a single split race, your SOF isn't going to be nearly as high, so there's not as much to gain in terms of points, and a whole lot more to lose.
Yeah, as I believe he just kissed the wall like Juan Montoya did, well, way back when he was still called Juan Montoya.
Before
When did
he
he
was
get the
a Triple
Pablo?
Crown winner.
Yeah. When did they start calling him Juan Pablo Montoya? Was that IndyCar, or was that after he switched over to NASCAR?
No, that was, I think, when he went back to F1.
Oh, okay.
Lundy kicking a little dust up. Not quite the full Luke Bryan treatment, but there's not much dust to kick up here at Belle Isle, so anytime you do it, you're getting something. At least you're dipping a wheel off of the racing surface. Whole lot of concrete jersey barrier around this place. With that being said, though, James, it's kind of like it's narrow, it's a tight street circuit, but in some respects it's really wide in places. It's almost inviting to try to make the mistake.
It is, like, you kind of get lulled into a false sense of security in certain corners. You're like, oh, I can push a little harder here, oh, it won't be as bad, and you quickly find out that it can be as bad. And as far as street circuits go, like, this is one of the bumpiest too, so you always have to be careful of that, like, and not let it catch you out. And to finish up the earlier thought, Schechter ran the Penzo car in 04 and 05.
So Schechter started at CGR and went over to Panther.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, this track is not like a super main road like some of the other street circuits we see, like Lakeshore Drive in Long Beach. It's a park on an island, so some of it is the main road on the highway, and some of it is just kind of the park trails, like to get in and out of the park and parking lots there.
Yeah, it was almost a purpose-built street circuit in some respects. Definitely a place that was bumpy, had its fair share of, well, we'll say train wreck. As, by the way, we have Mobin Khan up here on the screen. As Vilmacher commenting, after the turn 1 contact, he dropped to P15, all the way back up to P6 now. Very nice run here for Mobin Khan. Let's see, we'll try to find another battle we can show you here, but there's really nobody else close. Simon Fell trailing Ben Carswell by now 0.8 of a second. And other than that, it's Hazelworth and Paddock here at the front, catching up to West Shire to put him a lap down as Carter Lundy sets a new fastest lap of the race down to 1 minute 23.619.
Was that Hazelworth just kissing the wall there with the right rear?
It might have been.
It's just a glancing blow.
Ah, 'tis but a flesh wound.
Yes. So there you saw race
Yeah,
leader Carter Lundy starting to take off here away from Hazelworth and Paddock. The gap now up to 2.7 seconds at the head of the field here. It makes me start to wonder here as we're down to just a handful of laps to go. What difference do we see out of the USF2000 cars here? Because this place, we talk about them being a momentum car. You can really screw your race up if you have that momentum loss early on, turn 1, turn 2. That becomes a significantly bigger problem than in the PM18s.
Yes, and not only that, with how hard the braking zones are here, with the amount of left-right switchbacks there are here, that car gets very, very loose and unsettled in that type of corner, where these things have a limited slip and they're a little more forgiving. Those things don't. So it's very easy to lose the back end and just have to chase the car up and end up smacking the wall.
So down to 4 to go. This race looks to be well in the hands of Carter Lundy, and Everett Paddock falling pretty far back of Alexander Wesley Hazelworth here as well. In fact, the only fight that is within 1 second right now is the battle between Boyle and Aldridge, which is going to be back there for the 11th and 12th positions. And you see how far out these guys are separated. Kind of turning into sort of what we would expect here, James, out of a race at Belle Isle. The cream's going to rise to the top, and everybody just kind of ends up where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, like this is a serious departure from what we've kind of become accustomed to in this series. You know, a lot of our races tend to be a bit pack racy. We always have the top 3 or 4 cars under a blanket just battling and duking it out, but with it being such a tight circuit, street circuit, one of the hardest street circuits, we're not really getting that draft effect, obviously. So without that acting like a bit of an equalizer of sorts, you can just put all your raw pace out there, and yeah.
Yeah, raw pace is what we're seeing from Carter Lundy. Best lap time of 1 minute 23.619. Last lap 1:24 even to the 1,000th of a second. And if he had issues with Red Bull Ring not having much in the way of force feedback, you're definitely going to get that here at Detroit.
Oh my goodness! Will Hazelworth get it? Hazelworth looks like he got by.
Comes past. Paddock comes past Lundy as well. 3 to go, and an absolute cerebral flatulation from Carter Lundy.
Wow.
That is the most extra way I have ever heard anyone say brain fart.
He had to dunk on us with his knowledge.
Words.
Yeah, very easy mistake to do there. Coming down the back straightaway. Just kind of missing your braking mark, taking the safe route, and unfortunately falling back to 3rd, but it's better than ending up in that wall and calling it race over.
Yes, it is. As we pick up Lundy, and he is 2.3 seconds back of Everett Paddock. Paddock, 2.8 seconds back of Alexander Wesley Hazelworth here with 2 to go. Is this going to become the race nobody wants to win? Although I can't say Nicholas Daly's issue was self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Hazelworth almost put it in the fence.
You know what they say about karma.
I didn't want to go there, but
Well,
Heck,
gosh,
that's the
where
rate we're
where
going.
did we see that? Alton Park? That Lundy made that mistake a couple of times trying to chase down Porcelli? That was a place you could make the gap up. You can't do that here at Detroit.
especially not with like 2 laps to go.
Yeah, I mean, he's clawing the gap out to Everett Paddock, but it's still sitting about 1.8 seconds or so. As white flag is out, there is 1 lap to go here on the streets of Belle Isle for the law firm Alexander Wesley Hazelworth. Lap traffic up ahead, but will not be an issue. Lundy trying his hardest to catch Everett Paddock, but the gap's still sitting right about 1.7 seconds. As a reminder, after the Victory Lane interviews, we're going to run a couple of commercials, put up the Be Right Back, but don't go anywhere, because coming up next, it will be the U.S. Open Wheel D-Class cars, the USF2000 machines, right back here on the streets of Belle Isle. That race will get started just a couple of minutes after 10 p.m. in the East. Already down to turn 11 is Alexander Wesley Hazelworth. Just a couple of more corners to go and he'll be able to claim the win here in Detroit. Past pit entry under the twin checkers, and Alexander Wesley Hazelworth gets the win on Belle Isle.
Case closed. The law firm wins it in Detroit.
Damn you, Patrick. I was about to say that.
Gotcha, Watson.
Do we share the same brain cell?
Yeah, it was my turn with the brain cell tonight.
Yes. Yes, the one. Yes, that is exactly right. Just waiting for
And even that might be generous.
Waiting for a handful of cars here to cross the start-finish line, then we can give you your official race results. But Hazelworth, Paddock, and Lundy will be your podium finishers. Everybody separated by, 3 to 5 seconds throughout the rest of the field. Heavy attrition tonight as well. Looks like we will have 15 cars running at the finish. Westshire, the only car 1 lap down. Everybody else, from Nicholas Daly back through AJ Camargo, out of this race early on.
Now, are we placing bets? Do we see more or less attrition in the USF2000 race?
Yes.
I think it depends on how many splits you have and what the SOFs look like, quite frankly.
Because, what has it been, 5, 6, 15 weeks in a row? We've seen some carnage between the leaders about the halfway point of the USF2000 races.
Yeah, let's take a look here very quickly at your race results. Alexander Wesley Hazelworth picking up the win by 2.3 seconds over Everett Paddock. Carter Lundy comes home third. Benjamin Bartow in the 4th position. And Jason Miller with a nice run inside the top 5. 4 cars within 10 seconds of your race winner. 5th place, Jason Miller, 28 seconds back. Mobin Khan with a nice recovery drive to the 6th position. Ben Carswell, 7th. Simon Fell, 8th. Joseph Heath, 9th. And Mike Holler completes the top 10. 11 through 20 tonight. Russell Boyle, Vic Aldrich, Brian Karszewski, Joao Lopez, Wes Shire, Nick Daly, David Porcelli, Dakota Alvarado, Vicky Tognini, and Jamie Willetts back to the 20th position. Liam Loisel, Nagisa Yoshikawa, and Nieje Camargo all going out in the kind of turn 2 incident very, very early on in this race. Let's take a look here and see. I don't see any of our drivers actually in the interview room here, so we'll give it a minute here to see if anybody pops in. But I'll tell you what, guys, surprised at Carter Lundy tonight. The contact with Nicholas Daly, that sometimes happens on the street races, but the bigger one is just the brain fart going into turn 12, I guess it was, and just absolutely ended his race, or at least his shot at the win.
Yeah, and like I said before, it's really easy to do that there. During the race I did on Tuesday, it felt like every other lap I was just overshooting the corner and had the clutch kick it, the spinner back around, and get back on the racing circuit. I can't find a braking marker there. I think it's all by feel, and when you're doing it by feel, it's very easy to make mistakes.
Yeah, and James, that we saw that out of Alexander Wesley Hazelworth tonight, our race winner. He was not perfect. Couple little scrapes on the wall, couple dipping a tire off here and there. But that's kind of to be expected when you have to drive these cars as hard as you do to stay at the front in these races.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not whether or not you make mistakes sometimes, it's whether or not you can make the fewest. It's not uncommon to make a slip up here and there on a road course, on a street course, rather. And the law firm was his mistakes were a lot less bad compared to Carter's and a few others, and he's able to survive and bring home his first ever SOF win.
Yeah, big first SOF win for Alexander Wesley Hazelworth here tonight, ahead of Everett Paddock and Carter Lundy. But with that, I think with none of our drivers popping in here for the interview, at least I don't see anybody yet, we will get ready. We'll run the commercials and all that kind of stuff and get you ready for the U.S. Open Wheel D-Class cars coming up at 10 p.m. in the East. Don't go anywhere. You are watching the U.S. Open Wheel doubleheader right here on the National Racing Network.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
Bro, you gotta stop with that depression stuff. That's a white people thing.
Escúchame, en esta casa los hombres no lloran.
You alright?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you want to talk about it?
Thanks for hearing me out, bro. Appreciate it.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Welcome back, everybody, to more iRacing action here on the National Racing Network. This time it is the Stars and Cars of the U.S. Open Wheel D-Class Series taking on the Streets of Belle Isle. My name is Chris Graham, joined in the booth, as always, by Mr. James Watson and Mr. Patrick Byrne. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us here this evening. Man, I tell you what, we had a pretty decent show for the first one here, boys, but I think this one's going to be a little bit different. Only 28 cars. D-Class only having 2 splits tonight. That's really going to play with things here, James. I think we might see Carter Lundy, Nicholas Daly, Nagisa Yoshikawa. Those guys could take off here at the front of the field.
Yeah, like it's weird. We've kind of gotten accustomed to the super behemoth Mondo splits that are like 4K and up from the past couple weeks. So seeing a little less of a split, more names that we haven't really seen could really spice things up.
Following along with Carter Lundy, guy who finished 3rd in the C-Class race just a little bit ago.
After dominating almost every single lap.
Yeah, a little bit of contact with Nicholas Daly, and unless something screwy happens in qualifying, both of these guys are going to be right up near the front of this field, as everybody but one, 13 of the 14 cars are on the racetrack right now for their qualification attempts. In a place like Belle Isle, the pit lane start might not be the worst decision you could possibly make. It's not often we hear that in an SOF race. Well, but I'll tell you what, though, after what we saw in the last race, you kind of have to wonder, James, if you're a guy you're kind of surprised you're in top split, maybe self-preservation might be the way to go.
Yeah, because I know if I'm up against guys that I look at and go, nope, don't want any part of that, I just try to be in the back and just... It's better to run at your own pace when you're surrounded by the behemoths. So, I don't know, but I've never really been much of a pit lane starter. I prefer to die a warrior's death.
Yeah, I mean, the I ratings here go from 1945, 2072, all the way up to Carter Lundy's 6541, a 5132 for Nicholas Daly. A pretty solid spread, but after, I would say, Kenji Yamamoto in 5th, you get down to Jason Miller, you kind of have a pretty decent, kind of what I would call an average D-class spread in that 2,900 range for the I rating. And Bizzle, we talk about it in the league races that we do, that I rating doesn't necessarily matter. It's all that matters here in the officials, because that's how you get into top split.
Yeah, it's always fun trying to grind for iRating, and like Brian Labarge has taken a break from running the USF2000 cars because he was doing the math, and just at every point he was picking up in the PM18s, he was losing in the USF2000s. And unfortunately, if you want to get there to the top of your iRating, you have to kind of pick and choose the cars that you want to run an official. Otherwise, you kind of just stagnate right where you are.
Yeah, and James, we talked about it on Monday night during the Silver Crown broadcast that you were driving in. The fact that when you run these smaller series, the more community type series, what you end up with is a lot of guys sharing iRating. So you get your license level up to that, but then iRating kind of sort of, it just gets passed around amongst everybody. This week, this guy was ahead. Next week, you're ahead. But you're not making that huge of a move unless you're the guy with low iRating who has a great finish.
Yeah, that's the difficult thing, is that you've really got to be, like, really good if you're going to gain iRating in these series. Like, I've experienced the same thing for the entirety of my time in Silver Crowns up to the last couple seasons. Like, I'd be like, maybe getting a few here or there, finishing mid-pack, but then as I started to get faster and get more towards the front, that's when I started to see really good gains. But it's difficult when you're not quite at the level of a Carter Lundy or a David Porcelli. You're just kind of hoping that things work out in your favor and you get a shock retirement from one of the top guys.
In selling himself short, James Watson now almost over 6,000, or almost 7,000 iRating, as Carter Lundy goes
I wish.
1 minute 28.357 top of the board, 0.8 of a second faster than Nicholas Daly in second. Oh my goodness. Let's pick up Kenji Yamamoto out on the racetrack.
Yeah, after how the last race ended up, Carter's definitely doing that to try to get as far away from Nicholas as possible.
Well, I tell you what, though, hot lapping is one thing, Bizzle. It's something completely different when the guy who you kind of punterinoed about 15 minutes ago is now starting alongside you heading to turn 1.
Yeah, it's kind of scary driving around this place, especially on the first lap, just with everyone packed so tightly together. There is no room for error.
We'll see what's going to come here. Walter Giacopuzzi is going to be... Giacopuzzi? Yeah, Giacopuzzi. Third, and Nagisa Yoshikawa fourth here in qualifications. Yoshikawa, let's pick him up here, as he's right about the same point of the racetrack. A Knight 210 checking in on YouTube. Knight drives Clios. Follows that immediately with Meta Oopsie. All right, brother. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here. Second half of the U.S. Open Wheel doubleheader as Nagisa Yoshikawa finishes his qualification run, and he will be up to third quick as we will pick up Nieje Camargo working his second lap. Lap number 1 did not score for Camargo. Kenji Yamamoto completing his lap in 12th quick. 1 minute 58.358, a full 25 seconds off the pace. Nieje Camargo, lap number 2, good enough for 7th quick. Good lap there for Camargo, and that means it is time to get ready to get all of these race cars out onto the grid for tonight's 10-lap race. 17 for the C-Class cars, only 10 for the D-Class cars here this evening. As they get ready to roll, let's show you tonight's starting lineup for the U.S. Open Wheel D-Class cars at the Streets of Belle Isle. Carter Lundy will be your pole sitter. 0.8 of a second. That graphic is not lying to you. Ahead of second place, Nicholas Daly. Remember, those two made contact here just a few minutes ago in the C-Class race. Maybe a little retribution coming into turn 1. I don't know if we're going to go full Prost versus Senna, but we'll see. Nagisa Yoshikawa and Walter Giacopuzzi on row number 2. Row 3 will have Jason Miller lining up alongside of Declan Webb. Rowdy Energy on the side of that number 6 machine. That's a good one. Like Jason Miller's PPG paint scheme as well, but the Rowdy Energy's a new one here for us. The AJ Camargo lining up alongside of Brad Borden on row number 4. Row 5 will have Joseph Heath in that yellow submarine alongside of Austin Knight. Well, there you go. I guess that's the A Knight making the comments here. Eric Cox lining up alongside of Mike Holler. I'm good at my job, I promise. Row number 7, Kenji Yamamoto and Callum Wells Fry. That makes up your 14 starters for tonight's U.S. Open Wheel D-Class race as the pace car going to get ready to pull away here. Carter Lundy will lead the field to green, and I would imagine, yeah, he's already quick off the line. He wants no parts of being around Nicholas Daly. Now, you can't go too early, but basically as soon as the pace car starts to make that right-hand turn onto pit lane, you're free to go. And Lundy going to bring it down.
Let's see.
Well, he a little bit got to the final corner. Green flag goes in the air. We're underway here at Detroit. Does Daly try the dive bomb into turn 1? He's not going to be close enough, separated by a car length as they make their way out of turn 2.
Yeah, Lundy's #1 job right now is to run away. Oh man, who was that?
I think that was Yoshikawa. What a save!
Yeah.
And Daly's to the inside, and he's going to take the lead away.
Oh, he's in the wall! Daly wanted a piece of the lead. Instead, he's going to fall back to 3rd.
Carter didn't cause that one.
No, that was full send on cold tires. Declan Webb very quickly up a couple of positions as well.
I don't know if he's that worse for the wear. Like, I think it was just another glancing blow like we saw from Hazelworth. I think he just lost a little bit of momentum from that, trying to gather his thoughts.
Well, we'll see if Daly's going to be able to get around Jacopuzzi, but the gap, 1.6 seconds. Oh, as Jacopuzzi may have smacked the wall.
What a move. Not easy to pass there.
No, that's a gutsy pass there by Daly. Now
Daly's going to have some work to do now.
Yeah,
a lot of work.
Yeah, I was just about to say a lot of work to do here. Tell you what, Jacopuzzi's going to get a great run. Here comes Declan Webb as well. Jacopuzzi has to try to cover off. He's going to go wide. That's going to let Webb come through. Man, that was a no-win situation for Jacopuzzi. He was stuck between, do I attack Daly, avoid all contact, or give up a spot? And ultimately, his only choice there was to give up the position. Trouble for Mike Holler. Take a look, see if we can see what happened here to Mike Holler a little bit further back. Oh, contact. Wow, big hit for Joseph Heath. Holler goes around in the Citizens Climate Lobby, number 8. Going back to the live look here now. Towards the front of the field, Lundy out to a 4.5 second lead on lap number 2.
He's got enough of a lead. I believe he can afford to dump it in turn 12 and still hang on to it this time.
See, now I wasn't going to go there.
But you should have.
New fastest lap of the race for Carter Lundy. 1 minute 28.541. Last lap for Nicholas Daly, 1 minute 30.628. Lundy is a full 2 seconds a lap faster than the rest of the field around this place.
Now, with only a 10-lap race, There's no possibility Lundy runs into lap traffic, is there?
I mean, at the rate he's going.
I don't think so. Austin Knight is currently running in the 14th position. He's 26 seconds back of the race leader. Even at 2 seconds a lap, you're not going to make up 90 seconds. Jacopuzzi with a little bit of a bobble there. That's going to allow Yoshikawa to catch back in. Nice little battle here between Jacopuzzi, Yoshikawa, and Jason Miller.
Yeah, give him credit. You can tell he's given that car everything he has.
Good run for Declan Webb as well. Qualified 6th, already running in the 3rd position. Sitting right around 0.7 of a second or so back of Nicholas Daly.
Yoshikawa having to get on the binders to avoid running over that number 9 car.
Yeah, Jacopuzzi definitely has a handful. Carter Lundy again goes new fastest lap by 0.3 of a second. 128.218. That's ridiculous. I mean, that calls for a Charles Barkley impersonation.
That's what I thought I heard. Whoa.
Big dive up the inside. Well, it was the inside into the bed, but Yoshikawa looking outside. Oh, buddy.
That was ballsy.
What a move.
I tell you what, Jason Miller doing a fantastic piece of driving to not run over Jacopuzzi there.
Yeah, you could tell he wanted to follow Yoshikawa through.
Miller almost into the wall, exiting turn 13. Nicholas Stanley, now that he is back in front of Jacopuzzi, is hovering right within about 0.6 of a second per lap of Carter Lundy. So the gap is still increasing, but it's only up to right about 5 seconds now as we are working lap number 5.
Whoa!
Oh, Miller holds on to it, able to clear out of the way. He's going to lose 4 positions back to 9th.
That is unfortunate, but again, it's such an easy spot to just lose the car.
Let's take a look at the instant replay here. An on-corner exit. You talked about it, Patrick, in the pre-race. The back end wants to step out, and there we saw it on corner exit.
Yeah, these things, they're supposed to be the entry-level car in the Road to Indy ladder, but frankly, I think in the whole ladder, these are the most difficult to drive.
I agree 100%.
Frankly, I think the cars get easier the further up the ladder you go.
Well, you have more power and more downforce to work with, so you can kind of set the car up to your liking. Here in D-Class, you're underpowered, less downforce, and you can't set the car up. It's kind of like everything is stacked against you.
Somebody should really make an open setup league for these things. I'm sure that'd take off.
Something has to happen. I'll say it that way.
You can hear the Westshire grumbling in the background.
Wait, is this Wes's league that he's been meaning to get around to for the last 2.5 years?
Yeah, man, when
No.
we finally get that set up, we'll have all kinds of participation.
It would not be running Detroit.
Yes, it would. Have you met Wes? We're going to run exclusively street circuits because you can't debate track limits at a street circuit.
But only good street circuits. Not like those F1 street circuits.
We only have 4 of them on iRacing.
And your point is?
Heath
No,
looking.
'cause they're-
Whoa.
Oh man, Heath with the look inside of Borden. He got the job done, and Jason Miller able to follow through.
That was a nice move.
Yeah, nice pass by both of those guys.
You know, I was just thinking, we can get a whole schedule of street circuits, because if you count Le Mans' street circuit, Bathurst's street circuit, the Nürburgring's a street circuit, hell, even Spa is technically a street circuit.
You just lost me at the Nürburgring.
I believe Bathurst is also a circuit.
I said Bathurst.
Okay. Yeah, it shows how much I pay attention to what Patrick says. I'm sorry.
Well, we have to bounce a brain cell back and forth, so.
Yeah.
That is exactly right. Holy cow. So what you're looking at here is the tightest fight on the racetrack. Eric Cox, Mike Holler, and Kenji Yamamoto battling for 10th, 11th, and 12th. Jason Miller, Joseph Heath separated.
Oh, hang on to it, Mike! Oh.
Well, it looked like, oh yeah, he's crabbing big time.
Yep.
Big trouble for Mike Holler. That's going to swing around, and that will be the end of the night for Mike Holler. He very quickly takes the toe. Let's pick up Jason Miller going to work on Joseph Heath, as this was down to 0.4 of a second. Everybody else separated by a minimum of 2 seconds.
Does it count as a commentator's curse if I didn't have a chance to say what the compliment I was going to say?
Did you think it?
Yeah.
Then yes.
I was going to say, really impressive comeback for Mike with the taking the T-bone and car not being worse for the wear, and then that.
Watson, you were no longer allowed to have thoughts.
Like, I feel like I cursed Holler disproportionately than the rest of them. Like, almost every time I say something good about him, he dies. I'm so sorry, Michael.
They killed Kenny!
It's Groundhog Day.
I like to torture myself. Actually, the only time I've ever seen Groundhog Day, I had it on repeat on my flight back from Europe.
Somehow that's fitting.
I took a nap on the plane and woke up and the movie was still playing.
That's incredible.
So we are working lap number 8 of 10. There, we'll flip the graphics over and give you a look at race leader Carter Lundy. We haven't hardly talked about the guy. The gap is up to 6.3 seconds over Nicholas Daly. Oh man, he pancaked the wall there too. He knows
we need
he
to
doesn't.
stop talking about people.
Well, he knows he doesn't have to push, right?
Carter
Yes,
Lundy has 2 switches. He's either in the wall and crashed, or he's in the lead running away from everyone. There's no in between.
Yeah, there's attack and sitting in pit road.
No chance.
There's no 99% for Carter Lundy. There's no 99.9%. It's
man.
100%, and he's in the wall again.
And you heard him big time off throttle. He was on the binders trying not to slide that car into the wall any harder than it was going to. But the lead continues to grow. 7.3 seconds over Nicholas Daly. Declan Webb holding on to third. He's 2.7 seconds back of Daly. And there is something to be said for this car. You kind of have to drive in push mode. You really can't back it down in this car like you can in some of the others, even the Indy Pro car. This car, and I don't know if it's the open versus closed diffs or what, but you sort of have to push this car to its limit.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I've always struggled with this car is the lift-off oversteer here. Like, it's not what I'm comfortable with, and so you basically have to keep as much throttle on it as possible. And for some people, it's just not really ideal. And if you try to back it down, you let off more and you put yourself at more risk, as backwards as that sound.
Yeah, it's referred to as maintenance throttle. It's a big thing in the old spec racer Ford cars. It's something you have to do in the radicals. As Carter Lundy grazes the wall again, he knows it's the last lap. He's got almost 8 seconds on the car behind. Just relax. Clutch and coast all the way to the finish.
Brian Herta would not do well in his ear. The white flag is out. We are down to 1 lap to go. In fact, just a handful of corners left for Carter Lundy out of turn 9, turn 10, turn 11, the right-hander. Is he already starting the celebration?
I think so.
That is going full Max Verstappen. Is he going to stop on the start-finish line and do a burnout?
I hope so.
He tried to. He tried to. Oh, that's brilliant. Carter Lundy gets
That's
the win.
amazing.
In
What
Detroit.
a legend.
Nicholas Daly comes home second. There's third place. Declan Webb, fourth place. Nagisa Yoshikawa. Why can't I talk? Good Lord. Walter Jacopuzzi
We're doing the best
home
we can,
fifth.
people.
Sixth place belongs to AJ Camargo. Great run for Jason Miller. Back up to 7th. Almost up into the top 6 positions. 8th to Joseph Heath. 9th, Brad Borden. Waiting on 10th place, Eric Cox to come across the line. There's Austin Knight in 11th. Callum Wells Fry in the 12th position. And with just a couple of corners left to go here, number 5 of Kenji Yamamoto will be our final finisher here this evening. He takes checkered flag. We'll bring you back to race winner Carter Lundy. He was impressive once again. Taking a look at our full field results. We showed you most of the field crossing the line, so we'll leave the graphics up here and let you kind of run through them at your own pace. But I'll tell you what, again, just absolutely floored at sometimes the just ridiculous outright pace of Carter Lundy.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
Too much natural talent in that one. I think I'm gonna do the Lance Armstrong, and I'm gonna go up to Canada and start stealing some of Carter's blood, and we're gonna do some blood dope and see if that gets me better at iRacing.
I don't think it will, but you're welcome to try it.
I think Carter might have a problem with that. Maybe
Carter,
just a little bit.
Yeah, you think? How do you think Customs would react if I asked Carter to like ship me some blood from Canada?
Anyways.
Screw around and find out. That's all I'm going to tell you there, bud. Oh, my goodness. Pretty darn good race, though. Back through the field. Walter Jacopuzzi having a great race there with Nagisa Yoshikawa, Jason Miller for a while. All in all, just a really good night of racing here from the U.S. Open Wheel Cars. We'll see if anybody pops in, but if they don't show up here pretty quickly, we are going to be heading off the air and getting ready to wrap things up from the streets of Belle Isle. All in all, not a bad night of racing here on the National Racing Network. Coming up next week, we will have the full slate of racing returning. Silver Crowns kicking things off Monday night at 9:45 in the East, taking on Bristol Motor Speedway. That one will be a fun show for sure. Sim Racers Club Wednesday night at 9 p.m. in the East, heading to the Nashville Super Speedway. And back-to-back tracks that the community votes for and doesn't drive in. The U.S. Open Wheel Cars heading to Suzuka next weekend. Well, next Thursday night, anyway. We will be right back here, 9 p.m. in the East with the C-Class, followed by the D-Class race at 10 p.m. All in all, though, not a bad show whatsoever here, guys. Kind of got what we expected. Bizzle, one of those deals that it's a tight street circuit, and the guys that are fast are going to run away and hide.
Yeah, street circuits are always super tough, and it's where the cream rises to the top. You have to be flawless. We even saw Carter Lundy spin in the first race and somehow get into the wall about 20 times in the second one and still run away with this thing.
Yeah, it probably should have been 2 for 2 on the night here, James, but all in all, I mean, a great show. Alexander Wesley Hazelworth getting his first SOF win in the C-Class cars. Lundy taking a big win in the D-Class cars. Now we head off to Suzuka next week, and that it begs the question, if the participation numbers aren't there, do we see a similar show to what we saw tonight?
I think we will. As sad and as it is, Suzuka hasn't really been all that great for participation. So I hope we get a split, but yeah, it remains to be seen. But you know, we're going to see another good show. It's going to be somewhat of a draft track with, you know, the long straight from Boone down into 130R. So yeah, it should be a fun race to watch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Quick comment here from Austin Knight. No link to find y'all's Discord for future reference. Well, discord.gg/TNT Racing is the unofficial Discord. That's where most of the PM18 community is hanging out. And we do have that's actually where we do the broadcast booth out of as well. So make sure you check that one out, discord.gg/TNT Racing. And with that, we are getting the heck on out of here. A fantastic night of racing from the streets of Belle Isle. For James Watson, Patrick Byrne, and everybody here at the National Racing Network that makes these shows happen, my name is Chris Graham. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming to hang out with us. We will talk to you all soon. Have a great night.